Hello, and welcome to the video. Today, I decided to paint up Ephelium's Pandemonium, which is basically the Tzeentch faction for Warhammer Underworlds. And to be honest, this is the first time in all of my years of painting Warhammer figures that I'm actually painting Tzeentch figures. I've never dabbled in Tzeentch. I was more drawn to the Slaanesh factors and Nurgle. Now this should be a lot of fun because Tzeentch is just full of bright colors and a lot of magic going on, so I was kind of looking forward to giving these guys a shot. So I started off with priming them white because this will help the colors be nice and bright. But as you'll see as I go along, things got a little chaotic. So I decided to do this video a little differently, because as I said, things kind of spiraled out of control. My initial plan was to do all 4 of the demons and sort of just break them down and show you what I did for each one. But as I started working on them and adding the bases and then moving to the highlights and everything, it just kind of ended up a jumbled mess in the end, if I tried to break it down as I usually do. So I decided to just kind of speed everything up and put them all together and show you basically some of the process and how they come out in the end. The end results look really good, but the process, it was pure chaos, which is actually kind of fitting since I'm painting up a Chaos Warband. As you can see, I put down mostly speed paints for the base coats. You don't have to use speed paints at all. I used them because I really like the way that they cover. They do a nice quick job and the colors are actually really vibrant. And on top of the white primer, they actually look really nice. And I like how, as I said in the beginning, with Tzeentch, the colors are usually bright and vibrant, and I think that these did a really good job of putting down a base coat. After I put down all of these base coats, once they dry, I'll come back in and highlight them up a little bit. But I'm going to use these speed paints to cover as much as possible for these base coats. As I said at the beginning of the video, Tzeentch was never my favorite Chaos God. I don't know why, I actually enjoy the colors, and since he's the Chaos God of Change, and all of his demons and all of his followers, they all show extreme signs of mutations. Like everything is just kind of mixed up. And I think that that's really cool, and it gives you it leaves him wide open to a lot of making your own miniatures. A lot of customization is you can basically attach 6 arms to a guy or put a bird head on a figure. There's really no hard and fast rules with making Tzeentch characters because, as I said, the mutations just kind of run wild. And out of all of the Chaos Gods, it's actually probably the most chaotic one because it's just a mix of everything thrown together with basically no order at all. So I would say that that is pretty much pure chaos. Tzeentch is also a god of magic, which his followers are very heavy into magic. And I gotta say, on these figures here, I actually really like the magic effects on it. And that's actually something that I want to come back and practice on at some point, because I think that they came out okay, but I would like to come back and try to do a more fluorescent or kind of transparent look to the magic effects on here. In fact, I almost kind of wish that I would have just stuck with the speed paint coverage on it and just left it alone. I tried to do too much highlighting on it, and some of it didn't work out right. Now the green on this little orange fella, I think that the magic smoke that he's holding actually looks really good with the green and the yellow. But some of the other guys didn't turn out quite the way that I wanted. So for in the future, I'll definitely try to come back and just do something a little bit different next time. But that's the great thing about painting is, every time that we paint a miniature up, you learn something new. And luckily there are tons of different painters out there that you can pick up some tips and tricks off of. and give it a shot. You know, some things work, some things don't, but every time that you do it, it's definitely a learning process. And, you know, who knows, next time I'll get the results that I'm really looking for. But now that we have our base coats all done, now I'm just going in and I'm doing all the detailing and highlighting. And this process was actually pretty fun. And as I said, it got a little chaotic when I was trying to put the video together and highlight what I did for each one. There were just too many steps, and I thought, you know what, just throw it all together and let people see that you don't have to have a hard and fast plan to paint these miniatures. As everybody says, and it really is true, and actually I had to be reminded of it myself lately, was just trust in the process. Things start off extremely messy and kind of crazy, but the more and more that you work the miniature and just kind of keep going through it, adding colors, adding highlights, details, they really come together at the end of the day. It's kind of amazing how awful they can look at the beginning, but then I always surprise myself at the end when I'm all finished with them and how good they look. And these miniatures here, they're very small, so it actually made them really fun to paint because you didn't have to put a ton of work into each one. They all have a lot of details, and that's one thing, is GW certainly adds a lot to their miniatures, a lot of details to their miniatures. But it made them really fun to paint because you didn't have to put a ton of work into each one, and it just made it satisfying to see them come together at the end of it. And really, I enjoyed the bright colors and how everything just sort of popped at the end. I did enjoy how different each one of these miniatures were. Sometimes when they're too similar or they're all the same color, it gets kind of boring. I haven't painted a full big unit of characters in quite some time, but I know, just, you know, you paint the same guy over and over, you paint the same color over and over, it can just kind of wear on you and really burn you out quick. So these guys are actually a really nice refresher, you know, because each one is so unique and each one has its own color that it made it really fun and just kind of relaxing to paint. And with them being Tzeentch and chaotic like this, there was no hard and fast rule that I had to follow either. I figured that I would do the sorcerer for this warband separately, since it's much easier to focus on a single model like that. And I did learn that it's actually very difficult to try to put 4 different miniatures into one video and then try to explain the process for each one. So let me know in the comments how you felt about this process, if you enjoy me just sort of talking through the video as I'm painting, or do you actually like me explaining each step that I go through? I'm not sure. I'm kind of curious how the reaction will be for this video. Finally, I'm just adding some finishing touches to this last demon here, and these guys will be all complete. And here we have our little chaotic fellas all finished. And as you can see, they came out quite nice. I'm really happy with them. I love the vibrant colors on them. I love that each one is so different, and I'm really happy with them. Even though I couldn't really figure out a good way to put them together for a video tutorial, but I hope that the video was enough to show you the process that I used to get them all painted up. As I said, there was nothing really technical that I did with each one of them. I just kind of went with whatever I felt like doing at the time. So if I thought that they needed a wash or if they needed a highlight, I just kind of went with it. The only thing is that now looking at it, I think I'm going to go back and touch up the bases. They seem a little plain to me looking at them now, and I might go back and add some tufts of grass or just something to add a little bit of interest to them. I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed watching me paint and listen to me talk a little bit. I hope that this inspires you to get some of your miniatures painted up as well. Now, next video, I have planned to go sort of the opposite, and instead of doing bright, vibrant colors, we're going to be doing something a little more grim dark. I have the Khorne Warband all primed and ready to go, and I'm looking forward to making those guys as grim and dark as I possibly can. With that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.